Hello everybody, I'm Razorblade Mango. So, some of you have, wondered where did my movie reviews go? Because I used to do them back when I was first starting out. And, to be perfectly honest, looking back on most of them, I don't like them. I don't like my own video reviews. I think, in my opinion, like for my own work, they are way too long. I babble for too long. There's no real, I don't know, beat to them or anything. It's just a big bleh, bleh, just talking about the bleh. And the problem is a lot of my reviews, focus on the general consensus of the film, which I think is boring, and that's fine. I'm not one of those guys out there that's that tries to be contrarian on purpose. I agree with general consensus of things more often than not, but really, how interesting is that to talk about something that almost everybody universally agrees on? You're just regurgitating everything that everybody says, which is why a lot of film criticism doesn't really interest me these days. Now, and I've been trying to figure out a way to do this, because I do want to talk about movies. Because if there's one thing that I am a bigger geek for video games, it's movies. I love movies, and I want to get back into talking about movies. I haven't really done a big movie thing in a while, and there's really been nothing so far this year that I've, except maybe for one exception, but that time has long passed. So, and you'll hear about it at the end of the year anyway. So there's really no point. So, the way I'm going to start doing movie reviews is I'm going to start talking about a movie. I'm going to only talk about movies, a certain film, if, one, I see it opening weekend. Two, if I disagree with the general consensus on it. Or three, I think it is, even if it is widely praised, but does not have a big audience appeal. I want to get the word on stuff out there that does not have a big theatrical release, maybe even a super, super limited run. Maybe a lot of people don't know about it. That's the only case these are the three cases I will only ever talk about a movie. Well, the last three are interchangeable, but it's got to be something I either disagree with on the general consensus on, or the popular opinion on, or I think it's not getting the exposure it deserves, or a lot of people don't know about it. But I mean, that's not going to be the case today, so I'm going to try to be brief. I just want to put this out there because I'm really excited about the new Mission Impossible that's come out, because I saw it Thursday night, and walking into it, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I thought it looked good from the trailers. It looked interesting. It looked entertaining. I like the series as a whole, even though I've never seen the first one. I cannot get through the second one. Really like the third one. Don't care for the fourth one all that much. I know the fourth one a lot of people consider is the best one, but it outside of the one of the more famous scenes of the movie where Tom Cruise scales the world's tallest building, it doesn't really do much for me, honestly. And I saw it in IMAX, so even in IMAX, besides that one scene, I was like, it's okay. But much to my surprise, I thought the new Mission Impossible was great. I mean, it's been a really good year for action movies. After stuff like Furious 7 and Mad Max, and now this is just another one of those action movies that I've seen this year that I really thoroughly enjoyed. I had a fucking blast watching this movie, and I probably say that phrase way too much, but it's true. I was quite literally, I was on the edge of my seat a lot of the time during this movie, just because of how visually interesting it was, because of how well the action is shot, and because of how like how energetic it feels. I mean, this was written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who, if you guys don't know, he also wrote and directed the very, very underrated Jack Reacher, which it's awesome. You guys need to watch it. It's on I think it's still on Netflix. If it is, please go watch it. It's awesome. I love that movie to death. He brings this and it's for a franchise that's going on its 5th entry now. You kind of would expect it to feel, tired and routine and just bleh, just devoid of any kind of ideas. But this movie has such a life to it. It has such pop and personality. And I think a lot of that comes from Christopher McQuarrie's excellent directing, excellent writing. The way he stages all of these big set pieces is amazing. And a lot of directors really don't, especially a lot of action directors these days, don't know how to stage set pieces. They don't know that balance between, they either focus way too much on trying to make it all about the action and forgoing the character development and the sense of any kind of, joy to it, or they just want to make it kinetic and furious and just shake the damn camera around and cut every second in order to create this sense of intensity when there really is none, and it just gives you a big headache. Which, those aren't ways to do action scenes. What I almost said Ghost Protocol, but what Rogue Nation does is, especially in one sequence, and it's not the plane scene, which is really odd, considering I thought the plane scene would be the most impressive set piece, but it's not. It's actually one of my least favorite parts of the movie, but I still really like it. It just, I don't think it holds the candle to some of the other ones. Now, the one that I really loved, the set piece, and I think is the best in the series so far, is this sequence in an opera house. And it's not this big, gigantic, explosive action scene. It's a very, not quiet, but very subdued, stealthy, character-driven sequence, where it's all about Tom Cruise and Simon Pegg infiltrating an opera house to try to identify an assassin in there that's going to kill, I think it was one of the prime ministers of Austria or something like that, yeah. But the way McQuarrie stages this scene and the way it plays out, I always have this belief that action sequences should feel like ballets or operas, or should feel epic and emotionally engaging in their own way. I mean, it cannot feel just this like bland spectacle. You have to have some kind of charge to it, whether it's through the characters or the imagery or the music or something, or in the ideal situation is the combination of all of that. And to me, this scene, the opera scene, is like a blend of all of that. I mean, you've got the action, which is really good and really well shot, and you got the humor, which is blended seamlessly into the action, seamlessly into the characterization. The imagery, it looks beautiful. I think it was shot by Robert Elswit. I gotta look this up real quick, because I mean, if it was, I'm pretty sure I saw his name in the credits. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Robert Elswit, who it was the cinematographer on a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson films. He was a cinematographer on Nightcrawler last year. I think he did the cinematography on... he did the cinematography on Ghost Protocol as well. Which, for the flaws of that movie, I didn't think the visual, the way it looked was one of them, because it looked great. But yeah, I mean, this guy, he's like a world-class cinematographer. So, having the cinematographer for stuff like There'll Be Blood really helps your movie shine in terms of the visual design, and that's exactly what Rogue Nation does. It looks fucking beautiful, especially in that opera scene that I keep talking about. I'm trying to make this quick, but I just can't help but gush over how wonderful I felt this scene was. It was so good that I actually almost started kind of tearing up a little bit during the scene, because I was just floored by how good it was. And I like a lot of the comparisons you could tie to Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much, especially the climactic opera scene at the end. both the remake and the original film. And that comparison is very fair, and there's a lot of influence from Hitchcock, a lot of influence from Brian De Palma in that scene, but it doesn't feel like such a grand homage that it overwhelms a lot of what's going on there. This is Christopher McQuarrie's own thing. It's fantastic. It's a great scene, and I loved it. I thought it was the best part of the movie, best part of the series. Now, that's not to say the rest of the scenes aren't great. I mean, you've got, of course, the plane scene, which is cool. You've got this underwater scene that's like really super tense, and I hate, like, one of my biggest fears is dying underwater, because I think that's one of the worst ways you could die. It's terrifying. The thought of that is terrifying, and that played on my phobia of drowning, like my big phobia of drowning, and it was so terrifying and so like edge of your seat thrilling. Loved it. There's a really cool action scene on a motorcycle near the middle, which is great. Really, really funny, too. There's a good climactic ending. I don't think it's as impressive as some of the other stuff in the movie, but the climax of the movie is really intense, really good. And yeah, I thought the action was great. Probably the best in the series so far. Rest of it's good as well. I like, one of the things I admire the most is how the female lead in the movie is treated. I mean, you could have had this thing where, and I think she's played by Rebecca Ferguson, who is this double agent within the British intelligence, who's also working for the main villain of the film. And the way they write her and treat her character feels really human. I mean, it doesn't feel like, I was worried that they were going to slip into the needless romantic interest category, which is what I felt like a lot of action movies have done for the past few years, which is really unnecessary, especially one movie this year that I thought was really, really fucking retarded and really, really insulting. You'll hear more about it at the end of the year. But and I like that there is romantic tension between the two, because I think Tom Cruise, and who's great in the movie as well, and Rebecca Ferguson's character have this relationship where it comes from this point of common understanding, because they both understand their respective jobs and what needs to be done. And I like that the romantic interest between the two is very subdued, and it's an undercurrent throughout the movie, but it never feels exploitative. They never really act on it, and it kind of feels like an added element of, oh shit, is this woman to be trusted? Is Tom Cruise even doing the right thing? I mean, it's really interesting the way they do it, and it's admirable too, because it doesn't feel cheap. And even there's a part in the movie where, of course, she has to, like, appear in the swimsuit, which I didn't think was all that tasteless or anything at all. I thought it was just they didn't, like, have, like, a zoom in on her ass or on her tits or anything like that. It was just her in a bathing suit, just casually walking around. It didn't feel, like, pervy or anything. And there's, of course, there's a part where, like, she takes her shirt off and she has no bra on, but you see, like, her nude backside. And even then, it wasn't a situation of, like, oh my god, she's so hot. It was more of a, like, I'm not going to spoil why she does it in the scene, but it's more of a situation where it's just like an oh shit moment. And I liked that a lot. I liked that the sexuality in the movie is used more for character development rather than, having some kind of cheap sex scene or nude scene or anything like that. Nothing like what Mission Impossible 2 does with poor Thandie Newton. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. If I hate to sound like a generic critic, if there's one movie you see this summer, no, so far, the best movie I've seen so far this summer has been Rogue Nation. I thought it was great. And if you guys, if you have the money to spare and you thought it looked good, you're really going to enjoy it. I was the guy going into it like, well, I don't know about this, but yeah, it's fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. Go see it. It's awesome. Christopher McQuarrie should direct every action movie out there. I'm really excited for what he does next. I hope it's another action movie or some kind of thriller like action thriller like Jack Reacher. I hope they bring him on for the next Mission Impossible, because I know they've greenlit another, like, Mission Impossible 6. I hope they bring McQuarrie back, because I know he and Tom Cruise have a good working relationship after Jack Reacher, and I think he was a part of Edge of Tomorrow, which I still haven't seen yet, but I need to get on that. I've been putting that off for way too long. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. If you've seen Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, let me know what you thought about it. If you liked it, if you disliked it, why not? No idea what movie review I'll do next. Like I said, it's got to be something I either disagree with the general consensus on, or I don't feel like it's getting enough exposure. So we'll see. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.